Welcome back. This is part 2 of perception and communication. In the last video, we talked about the connection between perception and communication, and we did a quick overview of the stages of perception, which include selection, organization, and interpretation. So now let's talk about some reasons that may cause some differences in perception. First thing about perceptual set and stereotyping. Now most of us know exactly what a stereotype is, but we'll go into more depth here. Perceptual set is a fixed, previously determined view of an event, object, or people. The most common being stereotyping. Sometimes we'll think, hey, well this guy up here, as we know about guys who wear hoodies, who are super tall and kind of tall and dark, maybe they're up to no good. This lady right here, with the blue hair, she's obviously a free spirit. Now, we all have our stereotypes for different reasons. Keep in mind that stereotypes are just our way of interpreting our world. We went through the selection, organization, and interpretation process and tried to come to some conclusion about a particular group. However, it's very important to know when our stereotypes aren't always going to be true. Just because you see someone who's super tall doesn't mean they're going to be good at basketball. Then there's the attribution era. Attribution is the complex process through which we attempt to understand the reasons behind others' behaviors. So maybe you think, hey, I don't want my teacher to set me up with the late student, because you immediately think because that person is always late to class, then maybe they're going to be unorganized, and maybe they're going to make you do all the work. Keep in mind what you just did. You assume that because they're late, that they must be unorganized, that maybe they're lazy. You didn't stop to think, well, maybe why are they late? Maybe they have work right before class, and so they always come in a little bit late, and they've already told their teacher, because of their situation, they'll be probably 5-10 minutes late. But now you've assumed this is a lazy slacker, and I just got stuck with him or her. Then there's physical characteristics. These can cause differences. When I was a small child, I would always climb up on top of tables and my mom's furniture because I wanted to see the world the way the big people saw it. Well, now that I'm taller, I realize it was just a matter of the difference in how I see it. Now that I have poor eyesight, I realize that without my contacts, the world really does look different. So how you are structured, whether it be your body weight, your shape, your height, your health, that's going to affect your world and how you perceive it. There's your psychological state. We've all had those good days where everything just worked out in our favor, no matter what. We've all had those bad days where it just couldn't get any worse. Guess what? That was your mood affecting your entire perception of your day. There have been times where I've been stuck in traffic and it's been glorious. I just turned up the radio and started dancing. But there have been other times where I've been stuck in traffic and it took everything within me not to start yelling, because my psychological state affected my perception. Then there's your cultural background. Keep in mind that your culture, which is your interpretation about your beliefs, values, norms, and social practices, is going to affect how you see the world. It's going to affect what you think about certain ways we communicate. Keep in mind that we also have ideas such as ethnocentrism that may hinder our communication with others. If we believe that we are better than everybody else, that our culture dominates, we're number one, then of course someone from a different culture is going to think, wow, you think you're superior to me. It's going to cause conflict. That's ethnocentrism. Ethno being culture, centrism being centered. So instead of ethnocentrism, try to have cultural relativism, where you take on a broad, open-minded view, and you start to judge people's ideas based on the actual idea, not just as being different. Gender. Now, unlike biological sex, gender is socially constructed. How feminine you are, how masculine you are, maybe even how androgynous you are, it's all based on what you've been taught is acceptable and not acceptable, and what you feel personally okay with. Keep in mind, this is going to affect how you perceive things. For example, I have a very close friend, and he has a higher pitched voice. Because he has a higher pitched voice, people are always confused, saying, oh, am I talking to a woman or to a man? But no, he's a man. He just has a higher pitched voice. Additionally, think about how you construct your own gender. What rules do you fall into based on how you perceive your gender? When I was a little girl, I would always want to flare out my skirt just like my mom. There was no reason why I wanted to flare out my skirt. I just wanted to do it because my mom did it. It's also the reason why when I spit on the ground, because my dad did it, my mom corrected me and told me, no, ladies do not spit on the ground. Then there's media. Media can affect how we perceive things. We all know this to be true. There have been times I've watched people argue and get upset in the media, and then luckily we have Saturday Night Live that criticizes everybody. And then people think, oh, well, that was silly. So if we want to become more competent with our perception, here's some steps we can do. First, become an active perceiver. Don't just let the world happen. Realize, hey, what is my perception doing to how I interpret this world? Recognize that each person's frame of mind is going to be unique. Your perception is colored by your own experiences. Therefore, other people's perception is going to be affected by their experiences. Try to distinguish facts from things that you infer. So what is true? What is real? What are things that you just assumed? Become aware of the role that perception plays in communication. Are you talking negatively to that new student because you heard negative things about them? Also, keep an open mind. This is probably easier said than done, right? But to become a competent communicator, we have to be open to new experiences, new cultures, and new ways of thinking. And also think about perception checking. You may be wondering, well, what's a perception check? I'm glad you asked. So let's say you see a friend and they drop their computer bag on the table, they plop in their chair, and they go, ah. Well, you may think, wow, they're having a really bad day. But let's describe what actually happened. Let's do a perception check. When we describe the behavior, you see that their computer bag was put on the table very loudly. They plopped in their chair, and then they sighed. Now suggest interpretations. So what reasons could bring in this behavior besides just having a bad day? Maybe the computer bag was heavy, and your friend was just really tired from carrying it around all day. Or maybe your friend's car broke down and they had to walk very far and their feet hurt. Maybe they just got some really bad news. Or maybe they're really sleepy. After a while, you can come up with a lot of interpretations. But after you come up with these interpretations, remember to seek verification. This is where you ask your friend, what happened? Hey, what's going on? Are you okay? The entire goal of your perception check is just to understand more accurately. Try to figure out, is my perception correct or is this incorrect? So remember, when it comes to being a competent communicator, first, you got to separate those facts from your assumptions. Remember that your perceptions are not always going to be accurate. You want to do a perception check for that. Recognize your personal biases. So maybe you had a negative experience in the past. Realize that. Keep in mind that different cultural backgrounds may mean different meanings to different events. Verify your perceptions. And then also, probably easier said than done, admit your misperceptions and change if needed. For example, I had a negative experience with a friend, and I immediately thought that she was intentionally trying to hurt me. But after some perception checking, I realized I didn't see the entire picture. I judged by how I was feeling and not by the actual situation. And so I had to change my perception. So that ends our chapter on perception and communication. So remember, select, organize, interpret, and perception check.